you'd literally crush the competition. If another agency came up to that solar installer and said, hey, we can give you a free audit, they'd be like, those guys are my fucking business.
You're watching a highlight from Agency Forge with me, Ed Leek, exclusive community for PPC agency owners to stop about in those other groups and join agencyforge.com, application only, terms and conditions apply, etc.
What's going to derail and crush agencies in the next 5 years? And how do we combat that? So the issue we've got, and it's been happening for years now, is that the Google Ads part is reducing because of automation and simplification. And it is, particularly for lead gen and home services, you can have some really simple accounts. We've got some e-com accounts that are literally PMax and a little bit of search, and they do perfectly well. What's our job? This is the scary bit, because then if you start getting questioned about what's your job, then you start getting benchmarked against another agency, which is, well, they could do the job cheaper because there ain't much job, is there? Now, I'm not saying that's true of everything. So I've been thinking, right, how do we head this off? Because Google wants to crush us. It wants to crush the work. So it'll always be there. But how do we get to the point where it's not just Google Ads? How do we get to a point where we productize the whole thing? I've just been through the whole process, and I've seen it from the customer's perspective, because I am trying to be a customer in the solar industry, and it is a fucking nightmare. So I'm trying to find a solar installer with a battery installation, and I've been through the process. I've clicked adverts, I've filled in forms. The forms are crap, the landing pages are awful, they're not getting back to me, there's no lead nurturing, there's nothing. So I'm sat there thinking, well, how difficult can this be? Google Ads is just the traffic. For years, we've said it's the optimization. I think it's not. I think the future is optimizing the whole thing. So if I was going to work with the solar industry, I mean, I literally looked the other day after I got frustrated. There's literally a Google API for solar data on maps. So you could get someone's postcode and address off the form, you could run it through the API, and you could literally get an annual projection for that building at that location. It's like, okay, well, that's the job of the company, isn't it? It's like, well, why does it have to be? So if I'm running a Google Ads account for a solar installer, imagine if I had the perfect landing page, because I'm running Google Ads accounts for 20 solar installers. Imagine if I know exactly what to ask them to fill in the API to then spit out an automated PDF that says, this is what we can produce at your address. This is a ballpark figure, yada, yada, yada. Or just some kind of foot in the door, PDF, piece of content. And then you're measuring lead quality. So are they filling in the information correctly? Are they reading their emails? Are we calling them back on time? If the client cannot call them back on time because they're shit, I didn't get a single phone call. 5 inquiries and I didn't get a single phone call. My job's worth 15 to 20 grand. So as Chris said, outsource the calls then. You get a call center to literally pick the phone up and chase the calls. Or you hire a VA. And then you've got, off the back of that, I know this starting to sound complicated, you've got lead nurture. So I didn't get a single email follow-up from any of these inquiries. Not a single welcome email, not a single, oh, hi, Ed, I noticed that you have inquired about batteries. Here's the best battery for your number of bedrooms house. Here's the best setup we recommend for your specific situation. Here are the pros and cons. That's super important, because that's exactly what I've been looking for. I've been having to research, Google all this shit. I've had 3 conversations with 5 suppliers. 3 of them have said different things, but one of them has shared some information about a certain technology that I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. I mean, he could have literally done a drip feed email to me and I would have been going, oh, this is interesting. This is useful. The agency can do that. If the agency knows the industry, they could set all this up. And literally all the client has to do is pick up the fucking lead that's qualified, nurtured, warm, ready to go. And the client literally goes, and the reason why the client has to do that is because they're busy. They're small firms. There's 2 or 3 men or whatever, and they struggle. They struggle, like Chris has just alluded to. They struggle to pick up the phone. There's not enough of them. They're not big enough to have a CRM. They're not big enough to have a dedicated member of staff answering emails and phone calls. If an agency can sit in between all that with a lot of automation, and I think it's perfectly feasible, it's hard to set up, but once it's done, then the amount of value that as an agency that you would add, you'd literally crush the competition. If another agency came up to that solar installer and said, hey, we can give you a free audit, they'd be like, those guys are my fucking business. The only way that you'd lose a client is if that client is genuinely trash and they have no business, because you would be such an integral part. You could charge a bit more. I'm not that fussed about charging more. I'm fussed about a client sticking around for years, no churn, and them being low pressure, no headaches. Not, Ed, our calls are down today. Ed, we've had less inquiries. Ed, why are we spending? No, I don't want that. Ed, we're paying you 10 grand a month. Why are you not licking our boots? I don't want that. I think this is the ultimate solution. I'm not saying it's easy, but you can take certain steps towards the ultimate solution to make you super robust, super valuable, integrated to their business, that they'd be scared to leave you.
Stop trying to scale your agency on your own. It's a lonely pursuit, it's boring, it's tiring, it gets you on blood meds. Join agencyforge.com, a community, a mastermind, training from like-minded PPC agency owners and myself, Ed Leek. I was going to follow that up with a .com, but I'm not a .com, I'm a real person. Go check it out.